Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and we're chatting in cars. The topic I've chosen for today, of my random hat of crap, is gender. Because I had a weird experience on Monday about gender. So I'm going to talk about that. You don't have to listen to it, of course. This is a trigger warning. If you get offended or outraged, fabulous. Go and do it somewhere else. But today I'm going to talk about what I think about this. And if you don't want to hear it, that's cool. You go do you. Go and listen to something else. The Beach Boys or something, they're lovely. You don't have to listen to a thing I say, but I will crap on and I do swear. So if you don't want to listen to it, fabulous. Off you go. Meanwhile, what do I know about gender? Let's get going. Alright, I am now backing up, as you can hear. So, we've got a 45-minute drive. I've got a mixed bag about what I think about gender. I was never really forced to believe in gender for several reasons. Mainly because my parents didn't support the concept of boys only being allowed to do one thing, girls being only allowed to do one thing. The other thing, I should say. Because of my background, my dad was quite incompetent as a person in general, let alone a man. My mum kind of taught us to do everything. So what was deemed to be a boy's job, we did anyway. Because she didn't want us to face the same sort of consequences as she had. Where she had started off with the gender roles where she wanted to be the stay-at-home mum. I mean, she come from a pretty buff background herself. But she didn't want to have to work. She wanted to raise the kids and the man go out and do the job. And they work as a team, essentially. Because if she's doing her job as a parent properly, supposedly, at the time, she should be at home, taking care of the kids, holding base, basically, while he goes out and gets the resources. Sounds very militaristic. Which it was, pretty much, considering my background. My mum was very much into raising kids in a militaristic way. It wasn't... To be honest, it was a series of hazing. It was a lot of hazing rather than the nurturing side of things. It's like, you are going to do what you wanted to do, what she wanted you to do. Sorry, my brain's a bit fried, it's Friday. Or you were going to suffer the penalty. And the penalty was usually physical. Not just scrubbing down toilets with toothbrushes and stuff, it was physical abuse. But anyway, that's a whole different story and a whole different podcast. Now, gender. We didn't have the excuse of, oh, you're a girl, you don't have to lift a finger. If she told you were going to do something, you did it. And if you didn't do it properly, you're going to feel it physically. So, I wish I could say, I wish I had the excuse of, oh no, I've got an innie, I can't go and do this physical stuff because I'm feeble. That wasn't supported. My parents were very much, well, my mum, my dad wasn't much of a parent, but my mum was very much based on the fact of, it's functionalism, you're gonna do it and you're gonna learn it properly. Otherwise, you know what the outcome is. The experience I had on Monday with this young girl, boy, I think it was born a boy, but it wants to be a girl, or it was born a girl and wants to be a boy, or something like that, I don't know. And when I talk about girl or boy, I'm talking about sex, I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about, do you have an innie or an outie? And I'm not talking about belly buttons either. It's like, when you were born, male, for me, is you have a penis. Female, for me, is you have a vagina. I mean, seriously, that's all I was taught. I wasn't taught, unless your genitals have some magical skill where, you're superior and you can physically do things, or because you have a penis, you're better at stuff than something. I don't think that wasn't emphasized. So that didn't matter to us. It's like, if you're born a boy or girl, it doesn't matter. You're going to do the job anyway. So this kid I'll say kid because it didn't like being called a boy or a girl. It was, what did it say? It said it was gender neutral. I'm like, okay, fair play, whatever. I'm looking at you and you look very much like a boy, but fine, okay. It's going to be a surprise for you when you figure out you've got genitals. I don't know. But anyway, it was getting very offended, and it used this word outraged. I'm sitting going, you're 10, first of all, do you even know how to spell that? And it was pretty clued on. I keep saying it, that's so dehumanizing, isn't it? I don't want to say it. It's objectifying. But they don't want you to use the he or she, so now it's an it. It's like, that's horrible. Because you're a child. I want to build that connection with you. But anyway, it, which is their preferred pronoun, I guess, they, or maybe we could just call them by their first name, I don't know. but then they'll get offended by that. It's like, ugh, did you just assume that my name was feminized? I don't know. Its name was Mirabella. I don't know if it started off with that name or if it changed that name. It looked like a boy to me, biologically. It had a boy's haircut as well, which is all the more confusing. So I'm like, okay. But it got offended when the other kids were saying he or she. And I'm sitting there going, these are 10-year-olds. They don't understand gender neutrality. And we're sitting there trying to explain to them, it's okay. Just call them by their first name, you'll be fine. I mean, it doesn't change anything academically either. I mean, the only thing I'm there for as a teacher is to say, do your damn job. Get on with the learning process. I don't care what, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. We are here specifically for the task of educating you to get somewhere in life. Do we really have to face this now? I mean, isn't this a parent thing? It's like, why are we having to do this? This is more in our day that we just don't have time for, energy for. So of course we do the whole, it's okay, it's all right. They just don't understand because they're quite young and all this spiel about, it's okay. I mean, personally, I don't give a shit what gender you identify with, what sex you identify with. I don't care. I'm there for teaching. It's like, I'm tired of coddling people because they have a crisis. It's like, I got my own shit to deal with, bro. It's like, this is tip of the iceberg shit. Wait till you get to my age. Because someone called you he instead of she. But anyway, it's like, to me, gender doesn't exist. It just doesn't. It's so grey and so convoluted that everyone's doing everyone else's perceived jobs. Nobody cares anymore. It's like, it's not like girls aren't allowed to work in mining or something like that because they have an innie. I mean, as you say, because they're girls, they have an innie. That's what I'm going for. Whenever I refer to boy or girl, man or woman, it's to do with biological terms, okay? Keep that in mind. Boys are not allowed to be ballet dancers because they have an outie. I mean, the only trouble I have with that is the very revealing tights. That's the only problem I have with that. I'm going, couldn't they put on a tutu or something? It's like, I don't want to see that bulge, mate. Not while I'm trying to enjoy the artwork. But it's like, there's no gender roles anymore. Everybody's doing everyone's job. My brother is probably the best example I've got of that, where he's working full-time as a teacher himself. He's also raising his own kids. His wife is a nurse. She goes off and does her nursey stuff. They share raising the kids because they both made the kids. It's like, he also does guy things. He also does girl things. You know, he goes off and does his wargaming. He's into Warcraft a lot. Not Warcraft, Warhammer. He also does Warcraft, probably, actually, the computer gamer. But he also does girl things. He goes off for girly weekends to get on his own, and he gets his hair done, and he goes and does a facial, and he eats crap and chocolate and cries and watches girls' movie. One of his favourite movies is Pride and Prejudice, like me. And I'm like, I don't give a shit if you're into that. That's not feminine to me. That's just basically looking at history. It's not perceived to be a woman's film or a woman's book. You know, it's looking at historical, you know, someone's perception of what history was at the time. It's like, it's not a girly thing. Facials, guys get them. It's just good hygiene. You want to be nice looking. You want to have good skin. It's like eating chocolate because you're feeling emotional. Not a girl thing. Everybody gets emotional. Everybody has hormones. Everybody has a shit day. Eat the damn chocolate. No one cares. It's like all these perceptions of what should be assigned to sex is bullshit. Nobody's following the rules, if there are rules anyway. I mean, this has been prevalent since... I mean, the first thing that comes to mind when we start switching jobs of what is perceived to be our sex-related jobs is the World War II. All the men went off to fight, the women stayed behind, did the factory work and stuff like that. My grandma was already working in a factory by that time because she was broke. She wasn't. There was no concept of, well, women can't do that because it's a guy thing. It's like she was already there. In poverty cycles, you're going to do whatever job you can get your hands on. Doesn't matter whether you got an innie or an outie. Can you imagine in that time period, someone standing up and saying, no, I can't do that. I've got a vagina. It's stupid. It's bloody stupid. You're going to starve. I can't. What was she doing? She was working on the docks as well. She was in a factory. She was working in the. She was moving those big ass barrels of whiskey and stuff. She was manual labour. She was not fucking around. She was like, I don't want to break a nail. I need the nails to prove my femininity. It's like, it doesn't exist back then. It's crazy. It's like, who is assuming this? I mean, can you imagine one of those guys getting offended because someone assumed that they were a girl? She'll say, fuck off, I'm moving the barrel. And they'd roll them. And they'd roll them for long distances on and off to ships because she lived on the docks. And she worked on the docks. Not in a horrible way, but, you know, we can all assume what that was. That's a whole different discussion. My granddad was on in and out of jobs as well because he was a labourer. He worked on the roads. He did factory work himself. He was in the war. He was all kinds of things. He didn't assume that he couldn't do that because he was a boy. I mean, he raised the kids when she was at work. It was a very split job. No one was told, even in that time period, that you couldn't work because you had an innie. You couldn't do this because you had an outie. It was a very much team thing. And that was a good relationship, I think, in that sense, because it was evenly split. When he wasn't working, she was working. When she wasn't working, he was working. There's no concept. So I'm beginning to think gender might be a money thing. It's like, if you're rich, maybe you're allowed to have genders. But then again, that's a whole discussion in itself. It's like, there's a lot of things that money can buy you that are also deemed restrictive. There's no restriction when you're broke as regards to money, as regards to gender, ethnicity, anything like that. It's like, if you're a boy or a girl, you're going to find a way to make money to survive. You're not going to turn down work. So, my tangent point is, we're at school to teach these kids to survive in the real world financially, essentially. That's what it is. It's a socializing process to a certain degree, but we're not going to tell you who you are, because you got to figure that stuff out yourself. That comes from you, it comes from your parents, your life experiences. We're not telling you who you are. I don't need to tell you if you're gender assigned. That's your business. I will tell you you're a boy or a girl based on your physical appearance. That's it. So when someone comes up to me and they say, I'm outraged, it's like, that's a you problem. I don't care. It's like, everything that you are outraged about is self-perception. It's like, it is interpreted by your life experiences. That is your opinion. I mean, it's the dude, isn't it? That's just like your opinion, man. That guy was awesome. I think we need to listen to that guy some more. I mean, he was a complete stoner, but yeah. He had some valid points. It's like, don't push your shit on other people. It's up to the individual to make up their mind about what they are. So, in a sense, of course, you cannot get offended when people don't accept that stuff. I mean, it would be nice to everybody that we all got along and everything was peaceful. And it's like, there's an amazing South Park episode. I think it's the COVID era one. I loved it. And they were talking about this time in the future when everybody gets along because nobody's offended and everybody uses PC and all this crap. And I laugh my ass off because I'm assuming it will never fucking happen. Because there's always some dick that stands up and says, I disagree. And this is why. And I'm going to do this and everybody should believe me and I'm going to force my shit on everyone else because I'm in control. It's control issues and insecurity, essentially. Those guys are ahead of their game, South Park. I don't know what they're doing, but they know their shit. It's like, maybe this is more of a fun way rather than what they should be going into, say, lecturing or something like that. But this is more of a fun way by making these cartoons about expressing how they feel about things. It's genius. I love it. But anyway, I go on a tangent. But it's like nobody's going to back up someone who's constantly in someone else's face about what they should be doing. I mean, I say that hypocritically, of course, because I'm sitting there verbal diarrheaing out of my mouth about what I think and what should happen. But you don't have to believe this. I'm not holding you to it. You can be offended, you can be outraged, that is absolutely your right. If it turns physical and anyone tries to attack someone else because of this, that's where I draw the line. It's like, you can say whatever you want. If it hurts someone's feeling, that's fine. We can work through that. If it turns to physical violence, no. Because that's where lives become endangered. And then someone can argue, oh, suicidal because of this. It's like, no, that's an internal problem, that's your problem. That is how you perceived the stimulus. Your reaction is how you perceive the stimulus. No one can make you suicidal unless you let them, unless you accept this as your position. And there are bits of chemical imbalance. Yes, some people are predisposed to certain mental disorders, like depression, for example, possibly. I just read an article about someone being depressed and it turns out it's something to do with cortisol or something like that, or antidepressants don't do enough or something like that. I need to go back and reread it actually, because I was only skimming it. But it's nature and nurture. It's not nature versus nurture. It's not someone on the outside telling you you're wrong and therefore I'm making you suicidal. It's you having the predisposition to physically, chemically be that way, and the environment that cultivates it. You can't just assume. It's like, so someone gets offended about someone assuming their gender. It's like you've made up in your mind that everybody has to believe this particular way, and this is the only way. It's like you can't accept that other people might not agree with it. It's okay to disagree. It's all right. We're all coming from different backgrounds. We've all got our own ideas. Culture plays a factor. Experience plays a factor. I mean, we've got so many different things that contribute to the way we think and how we perceive reality to be. Why should we absolutely accept one person's idea of what should happen as, norm? And if you do that, I suggest you seriously create your own identity, because right now you're just taking someone else's. It's like you really need to think for yourself. So this person is sitting there being outraged, and it's like, that's okay, you be outraged. But if it turns on anyone else physically, then you cross the line. You're not allowed to do that. And you can scream and you can shout, and people can in turn ignore you. That is how it works. It's like, I don't agree with this. Am I going to make it into this big fussy fight? No, that's fine. What I will do is go, okay, you do you, and walk away. And I'm trying to negotiate these kinds of things with kids at the moment, and I'm going, I don't personally agree with the concept of gender existing at all, because it's, irrationally vague. I mean, no one has any idea what the rules are anymore, because we swapped and switched so many times that nobody's following them. And the kids are like, I'm outraged because he called me a she. It's like, well, are you gonna, dap yourself every time just to prove that you aren't? I don't know. So how do you prove this? It's a crazy little discussion I've got going on. And this kid was 10. I'm sitting there going, first of all, you haven't even hit puberty yet. Your hormones haven't kicked in. You don't know what you are. And I have these same discussions when people come out and say, oh, I'm gay. It's like, are you sure? Because your hormones haven't kicked in. Unless you're thinking currently of people in a sexualized way, you don't know what you're attracted to. No one does. I mean, I didn't know I was bisexual until I hit uni and I found my first girlfriend. I'm going, wow, I actually am into this. In high school, everybody suddenly, in a big wave, I have to say, this was very weird. In a big way, suddenly all the girls were lesbians. I'm going, oh, okay, all right, maybe not. There was a handful of ones that genuinely stayed lesbians when they came out of school. But the rest of them pretty much sank into heterosexual, had kids, had the whole generic family thing. But apparently at the time it was very fashionable to be bisexual. I'm going, what the fuck is going on? It's like, it didn't make sense. So I do wonder if, at times, is this a real thing? Like, genuinely, there must be real ones, okay, where people are like, I'm having a crisis of identity. I'm not fitting into what is available at times, so I want to make my own. And of course, that's very cool. That's very nature. You should make your own identity. As an individual, you should be thinking for yourself. But at the same time, it's like, are you doing this because it's what's expected at the time? Or are you doing this because it's genuine? You should be aiming for authenticity. I mean, you're the one that has to live with you in the end. Don't just jump on bandwagons because it's a cool thing to do, or because everybody expects it of you. It's so stupid, because in the end, you're living with consequences. If you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, you're going to hate yourself. That's what leads to a nervous breakdown, I'll tell you now. When I was married, and I keep referring to this, and it's going to be an ongoing horrible thing, my ex-husband customized me. He told me what I was, what I needed to be. Even to the point where what my actions should be, how I should dress, what I should look like. And I knew at the time it wasn't authentic, but to keep him happy, I kept going. I kept doing whatever he wanted because I didn't want him to leave. I needed his approval for my own existence to, be valid. I was ego-stroking him at the cost of me. My authenticity was completely out. It didn't matter as long as he was happy. Don't ever do that. You will hate yourself. And when he left, I had nothing. That was me. I died, essentially. Whatever I was what he wanted me to be, and I didn't have any concept of what I needed to be for myself to survive. So I lost it. I had a mini mental breakdown. I got sent to the psych because I couldn't sleep. I was non-stop crying. And I got diagnosed with a whole bunch of fun stuff. All because I wasn't living who I was and who I needed myself to be to survive. My authentic self was out the window. It's like, and apparently my mental issues have been going for years. And did he support me in understanding them? No, because they weren't what he wanted me to be. It's like, apparently I've been autistic for years. Apparently it was a genetic thing. It's like, okay. I didn't know that. My mum says I'm quirky. She's in denial. But the psych says, no, you're autistic. I'm like, oh shit, okay. All right, that's my authentic self. That's what I was born with. Did it define me though? No. Did my sex define me? No, because I do everything. Well, I say sex. Did my gender define me? No, because I still do everything a guy does. I was chiseling up a slate floor at 16 to get my ball dress. That's deemed a boy's thing. My parents had weird ways of making us raise money. But I was chiseling up slate floors with a hammer and a fucking chisel. Skeletal as anything, because I had an eating disorder. I shouldn't have been doing that because I was, pretty fucking sick. But at the time. And I got the dress I wanted. It only cost about $300. Bargain. But anyway, different story. I earned that money. I did it with what was deemed a boy's job as a girl. My uterus had nothing to do with that. Nothing. Probably because I was anorexic and had stopped bleeding at the time. But anyway, different story. Totally different story. When it comes to physical things, biological things that define a man and a woman, I agree with it. I agree that there are some things that men can do physically, biologically, that we can't do, and that's cool. I'm fine with that. Each sex has got its own strengths. Each sex has got its own strengths. That's fine. It's not sexist. I can live with that fact. It's like they are physically, because of testosterone, physically more capable of building muscle than we are. I mean, of course, in that sex itself, it's got its different variations of what level of testosterone they've got, so what level of muscle they can build is pretty, biased at times. You look at some guys that got more testosterone than others, and there's all genetics in there as well, throwing it in. Some people are more predisposed to build muscle than others. I mean, yeah. But I'm not sitting there going, oh, I can't lift weights because I'm a girl, or I'm a female. It doesn't make a damn difference. I can lift weights, and I do lift weights. I do the whole deadlifts, the squats, the everything, overheads, back rows, all that kind of shit. I know physically I am incapable, without some kind of hormonal intervening of testosterone, to lift the same weights as a man would, who has the ideal genes and also the ideal hormonal levels. I know that on a biological scale, biological level, that I'm not going to be able to do that, and I'm cool with that. I have no need to prove who I am or what I am based on that kind of shit. It's like, I don't care. To be honest, it doesn't faze me. It's like, I know that a man, without a presence of a uterus, is never going to be able to birth children, I should say. I mean, I've heard stories about some people who started off as girls, transitioned to boys, kept the uterus, and then went back to bearing children as a man. And you sit there and go, well, that's cool, but okay. But you started off as a girl though, didn't you? You had a uterus. It's like, no man is born with a uterus. It was ovaries. And there was this funny thing I saw on Facebook, made me laugh my ass off. And I remember it back to when we were kids, because I used to watch Monty Python a lot. There is that skit in Life of Brian where they're talking about, I identify as a woman. That's fine. You go wear a dress. I don't give a shit. But then John Cleese stands up and says, how can you have babies? You're not got a uterus. He's like, I think he's right. I know everybody wants to say, it's like, do you mean you want to have babies, so adopt or get a surrogate, or, there's so many other ways that, yes, you can have babies. You can't physically bear them as a man because you don't have a uterus, and we don't have any technology or anything that steers towards some kind of robotic uterus. I don't know. We don't have that technology. So as it sits now, the reality is, no, you can't. So when you're talking about male and female in a sex sense, in a biological sense, it's true. You can't identify as a woman. And to me, as a woman, there is a shitload of baggage that goes with being a woman. It's not just a case of I get to wear pretty dresses and put my hair up. There's some serious messed up shit that comes with owning a uterus. Seriously. I'm 37 now. Oh my God. I did not even expect this shit when I was in my teens. I'm going, You're in your teens, you're like, oh, periods, oh, that sucks. Cramps, oh, that sucks. You get to your, when did I start getting weird shit? Like 30. You're getting things like ovarian cysts, endometriosis, missed periods, hormones that go fluctuate, you're getting hot flashes, all this kind of stuff, all this biological crap that comes with being a woman in a sex sense. And if that's what they want, they're insane. I'm sorry. It's like, having lived it, it's like, who wants this? It's like, I can understand why a woman might want to be a man, biological sense, because you don't have all this shit. I mean, what's the worst you've got is you have to bend over and cough. You know, it's like someone else sticks a finger up your bum. As a woman, you get that anyway if you're into it, but it's like, I'm not dissing it, it's all right. But, you know, it's like, that's the worst you have to deal with. Someone making you, you know, check your prostate, that's it. Do you know how many times we have to go for like cervical smears and shit like that? And at the same time, I'm sitting there questioning, it's like, do you actually want to be a woman, or do you want the perks of being a woman where you get to look pretty? Or if you perceive that's to be what a woman is. It's like, do you just want to look pretty and have people look at you? And so women get more attention for flashing more skin than boys do at this point, which I do think that's true. So I have no idea why we're running around half naked to appease these men. I don't know, because they're not doing it. Why aren't they doing it? They should do it. I mean, it has to be even, right? It's like, if we want equality, then either everyone should be running around half naked or no one should be running around. I'm going for the latter because I think it's very impractical if everyone's running around half naked, but at this time it's because I'm old as well. I'm like, you are all going to be very cold. I'm looking at these 18-year-old girls with skimpy clothes on going, you got to be freezing. There's nothing attractive about freezing. I've been there. That could be an age thing as well. I'm of the age to bear children or to raise children. So I'm looking at it from a parent perspective. I'm going, I'm not 18 anymore. I'm going, you are all going to freeze. I look at the kids that come into work and they're wearing shorts in winter. I'm going, your parents are assholes. You are going to freeze. So sexuality for me at this age is a bit different. We're not looking at the sexiness of gender or the sexuality. I mean, at this point, I'm like, I don't want kids. I've got my life set in that sense. I have no... I mean, yes, you want to feel attractive because it's a self-esteem thing, I think. Do I want to fit in and belong? Not really, because I'm past that and I don't give a shit anymore. So I'm just done with it, mate. I don't care. It's like, oh, that person doesn't like me because I looked a certain way. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm still breathing and my hips work to some degree. I don't care if you like me or not. Are you paying my bills? I just had a rent increase. Are you going to help me with that? I don't care. It's like, in your 20s, you're like, oh, my gender. But I don't care about your gender. Wear a dress. I don't care. Wear some trousers. I wore trousers my entire damn life. It wasn't until I got out of my 20s that I started looking like a girl. This is what was perceived to be a girl. So it's crazy. It's like, and people getting so hooked into this. It's like they're looking for shit to just start fights with now. It's like, what? On a day-to-day basis, does this really play any part in anything anymore? Anything? It's like, get to 37, my day consists of how can I pay my bills? How can I pay my bills without having a mental crisis myself or killing someone on the other end of the spectrum? Is this an ageist thing? Is gender an ageist question? Like, at what point does gender just doesn't fucking matter anymore? It's like, is this the premise of young kids have been watching TikToks? Or tweens or fucking 20-year-olds that are just trying to bang everything, so they're doing the fashionable thing by pretending they don't have a gender or they don't have a sex or whatever. I don't care at this point. I'm confused and I'm tired. It's like, is this what you're trying to do? Because the crew I used to hang out with, my ex-boyfriend, were all sort of gender fluid. I'm like, okay, I don't give a shit. Whatever you're perceiving gender to be, I don't recognize it as a thing. So we had the guys wearing the girls' clothes and the girls wearing guys' clothes, and I'm like, that's great. I don't care. None of you have a decent job. All of you are liable to contracting some kind of STD because you're all sleeping with each other. It's like, it's not that they're looking for identity at that point. It's that they're just trying to get laid. And it was a very big theme in that group because they were all bouncing across each other. And it became a competition to see who could shag who. And I'm sitting there going, I'm well out of this, mate. I'm past this phase mid-20s. I want nothing to do with this. I just want the home and house. I want quiet and calm and stability. At this point, I'm so tired. Let's go out pubbing, clubbing. Yeah, you can wear that short skirt, and he can wear that short skirt, and he's going to wear the knee boots. And I'm going, first of all, I wore these before you guys were anywhere close to the level of coolness that I am right now. You suck. Give me the knee boots, am I? These are probably your parents' boots anyway, fuck. But it's just ridiculous. It's like they're just using it as a new form of, greasing the wheel to get laid. And I'm going, alongside the alcohol that you guys are already drinking, shouldn't this be more valued? If it was offending so many people, shouldn't it be held in a higher esteem than just using it as a crutch to get laid? It's people are misusing it. I don't know. It's like, sorry, in the tweens, it's TikToking. In your 20s, it's trying to get laid. In your 30s, no one gives a fuck because we're all busy trying to pay the bills. And at that time, most of us are having kids as well. So the cycle continues again. It becomes like a tween problem. It's like the only people it seems to be concerned with is people who don't have kids, people who don't know who they are, people who are looking for attention or looking to get laid or looking to get something out of it. Because if no audiences were around, would it still matter that you are not recognized as the right gender that you want to be? I mean, if you're talking into the woods, you're standing in the middle of a forest and you shouted at a tree, I am not a girl, wouldn't make a fucking dent on anything. It's like, does it matter? It's like, so you're talking to people, essentially, if you look at it as people who are the trees, I know this is really getting weird now. They've got their own little bubble they're living in. They don't want to know. They're busy. They don't care, to be honest. It's a lot of, not that they're nasty and that they don't care, it's that they're already busy. They've got their own issues, man. Let them do their own shit. We're all stressed. We're all tired. Let them do their own shit. So you're sitting there on a day-to-day basis, and it's like veganism, where they constantly have to tell you every 10 minutes, by the way, I'm vegan. You got one of them? I got one of them. I got a few of them. I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm vegan. Good for you. That's your life decision. I don't have to believe this. This is the basic human rights I'm talking about. It's like, if you want to do that, that's fine. Keep to yourself. I don't care. It's called privacy. This weird thing where you have to tell everybody and announce everything. It's like, I'm gay. It's like, good for you. Does this affect me? No. Then why are you telling me? It's not my business really anyway, is it? I'm not trying to shag you. I don't care. But you need to know, do I? Isn't that like a private thing? Shouldn't you? I think it should be private. So I'm vegan, great, keep that to yourself. Am I forcing you to eat anything that's not within your, whatever you want to be? No, then great, why do I need to know? Why do I need to know? I've got enough to deal with in a day. Stop. So you've got a bunch of people that are constantly telling people, and yes, it is an important topic if you want to make it an important topic. That's cool, you do you. You make it an important topic in your own little world. Okay? Much like veganism. So that's great for you. You do your thing. I'm not trying to convert anyone to anything. I just want to relax, man. I just want to put my feet up. I'm tired. But the constant, I need to tell people. I need to announce this. I need to fight for this. It's like, if you look back long enough, this shit's been around forever. So nobody recognizes gender anymore. Nobody's recognized gender since the 50s. And even then they kicked up a stink. Because it's like women were pissed that men came back and said we want our jobs back in the war. Do you remember that story I was talking about? It's like, and even then they got to keep some of their jobs. No one actually went back to the kitchens. We're like, fuck you, I'm keeping the job. It's like, fair play, we'll make more jobs. Ah, that's the solution, great. So nobody has to be picked on because they've got an innie or an outie, fabulous. That's the thing, it's like, we know, if you tell us once, we know. I mean, generally people are pretty accepting. It's like, there's only a handful of people that stand up and go, fuck this, you're wrong. It's no, people are accepting because it's more fuss than it's worth. It's like, and you're shoving it in people's face and they don't want to know at this point. It's like, we accepted you the first time, great. The second time we're like, okay, you've already told me, that's fine. Can you imagine getting this many emails about one topic from one person? You'd get pissed off. You're like, right, straight to junk mail. So I don't care anymore, go away. And then you start getting irate because you've got 50 emails about the same fucking topic. You're like, I don't care, all right? You do you. Stop sending me the email that you constantly need to tell me that you are this. I get it. I saw it. If you want to prove who you are, don't tell people. Just be it. Just be it. We'll pick it up. We'll get it. It's like a guy in a dress, big whoop. Scott's been wearing skirts for ages. Well done. It's a kilt. Who cares? I mean, the only problem it came with the kilt was when one group of people said you're not allowed to wear kilts because it gives you an identity. And again, that was a fucked up situation. I agree. It's like, wear a kilt. I don't care, to be honest. If that's how you want to identify as, do you. Be you. Stop telling people that you are this. The only thing that tells me is that when you're telling people that you are this, that you're insecure about it. If you're not sure yourself, so you have to keep reaffirming it with other people and getting their approval. And this feeds into the whole self-approval thing. It's like, for social approval, self-approval. You want self-approval. Are you happy with what you are? Are you happy with what you're doing? Then do it. Be it. As long as it's not harming anyone, it doesn't bloody matter, does it? And instead people are just constantly like, I'm offended, I'm outraged. That's fabulous. Go in the corner and do that. Because right now, if you get at me physically, I'm going to lay you out. It's like, I don't condone violence. I don't think anyone should be hitting anyone. And proof is when I was like assaulted in 2008 by a guy. I didn't do that because I didn't react that way. Actually, tell the truth, I was a bit pissed off. I'm like, boys shouldn't be hitting girls. But then overall, it's like, no one should be hitting anyone unless you're financially backed to do so. It's like, if you're a fighter, UFC or something like that, Conor McGregor, best fighter I've ever fucking seen. I love that guy. Partly because he's a good fighter, he's strategic, but also because he's got the bravado. It's stupid, but any woman can pull that off too. Any woman can learn to fight like that. I mean, of course, you're going to be physically fighting another woman because biological issues, you know. He is physically more prone to build physical muscle, obviously, as opposed to metaphysical muscle, no. But within combat, you can do the same damn thing. It doesn't matter. Where is I going with this? I don't know. But no, in that fight when I got assaulted, I didn't fight back. And I was shocked because I was a girl that a boy was hitting me. And I'm sitting going, wait a minute. It's like, why are you doing this? But then again, if you look at it, it's very gender neutral, getting assaulted by a man as a woman. Because it's assuming the equality that women are allowed to get hit by men. No one should be getting hit by anyone. In a biological sense, he had more muscle than I did, which was a bit shitty because I wish I would be more even. I could have hit him back. And having said that, my mum hit harder than he did, funny enough. But there is no assumption of gender anymore. It is look down to the individual. Look at what the individual is, what they're doing, what they support. Stop assuming that everybody is telling you to be this way and getting offended when realistically no one cares. We're all busy, we're all tired. Stop making it about you, okay? If you are happy with what you are, be it, okay? Don't get someone else's approval. Social approval is such a fucking joke. I mean, if you're not sure, go and listen to the other podcasts I've done on social approval because it's an endless cycle of nothingness. You're constantly seeking it, you never get it. And when you do get it, it's not valued, so you keep searching for more and it just never exists. Same as perfection never exists. You're never gonna get there. You're never gonna get social approval. It's constantly ebbing and flowing. Be what you're happy with. Authenticity is what matters. And I keep hearing this in these weird bloody tarot card readings. There's your red flag. And all kinds of things. But logically, yeah, you are stuck with whoever you are. So if you tie your flag to your own ideas of what you should be, don't shove it in people's faces, just be it. Very calmly, very passively, be it. Physically, if you want to be perceived as a woman, biologically, and you're a man, and biologically you're not really going to have a good chance because you don't have a uterus until we develop that kind of technology. But wear a dress if you want to, I don't give a shit. No one's going to say anything, really. The only people that are going to say anything, maybe, are people who are insecure about their own ideas. Just go for it. No one's looking, okay? I don't know, we say that enough times. Maybe tweens are getting outraged by this. I don't know. Maybe 20-year-olds are getting outraged by this, but are they really getting outraged by this because they want to get laid or because they, you know? Is it real? What we want to do is create a sense of authenticity in the individual. So the thing to take away from this is, if you believe it, be it. Okay, don't just say it for social approval. Don't just say it because you think it's what's to be done or what's to be said. Be it because you believe it. That's been running for God knows how long. That's eons of existence. Because in the end, the truth of the matter is the proof's in the pudding. If it comes to it, if someone says they're a doctor and they don't have the skills or the training, the tacit knowledge to actually be a doctor, it's going to come out in the end. Someone's going to call them on their bullshit. It's going to come to an experience where they need to be it and they're not it. So if you are a woman, I mean, sparing biological terms aside, if you are a woman who identifies as a man, dress as a man. No one cares. To be honest, the only thing you need maybe is physical intervention, like hormones and stuff like that. But you don't need to keep shoving it in someone's face. It's like, we're all tired at the end of the day. Let's just accept people as they are and keep going, okay? So in the essence, it doesn't affect anyone else in the long term because nobody else is paying your bills. Nobody else has to live your life individually. You need to be what you are. Back up your shit. I mean, the best phrase I've ever heard was, what was it? If you're going to talk about it, be it, run your hands. Or something like that. I love it. I keep seeing it on memes and vines and shit like that. I'm going, I love that saying. What is it? If you're going to talk about it, be it, run your hands, bitch. I'm like, yes, I like that. It's aggressive, but I like it. Because it does. You need to be what you think you are. Don't be it because someone says you have to be, or because someone's told you this is what we do now, or this is fashionable at this point. Just don't. Because it's going to come out in the end and you're going to hate yourself for it. I mean, you remember all the mullets from the 80s? They're making a comeback. Oh my God. And apparently it's fashionable. I'm sitting there going, you are all going to look back at the now period and hate yourself. The same way that all the women looked back at the perms in the 80s and went, oh my God, why did I do that? It's like, if it wasn't comfortable, you know, don't do it. So I've just pulled up to work. I'm going to have to leave you there. Remember, self-realization is what's important. Not in a vain sense, not in a where you think you're superior to everyone else, but authenticity, knowing your worth, knowing what you can give, and everyone can give someone, or something. Well, you can give someone if you're biologically equipped to, but yeah. Should we go there again? No, all right, we won't have that discussion. But yeah, really, just be yourself. Everyone's got value. Everyone can do something that someone else can't. And we've all got something to give. So just be authentic. Stop worrying about what other people are thinking. Most of the time, no one's even looking at you. So just, in a large sense, get over yourself and be what you need to be. Okay? Have a good day. Take it easy. Don't stress too much. Drink some bloody water. Apparently that's important. I need to. I don't know why. I hate that. I'm going to stick to caffeinated drinks because I need to keep breathing today. Take it easy, get some healthy stuff in if you can, right? Go and eat something green. And I'm not talking about drugs. Go and eat something green, right? Have a lovely day. It's Friday. We've got Saturday tomorrow. There's no podcasts. There's nothing. I'm just going to let your brain think and tick over. And I'll see you on Monday, all right? Take it easy.